Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Welcome back to the show. We are so excited to have Wanugee joining us. Yes, the Awareness Guidance Counselor from Golden Dragon Fortunes, joining us live here from San Francisco, California, to talk more about the individual readings he does worldwide, unique Mahong tile readings, corporate parties, events. There's a lot to get to know. He's lived in many different countries. Let me have the man of the hour say hello and introduce himself. Go ahead. How are you today, Wanugee?
Nice to meet you, Jill. It's my pleasure. I'm great. I'm doing fine. And good to meet you and get on this podcast. So,
Yes, exciting work here. Hold on. Tell us the website. How can we find out more about you?
yeah, you can go to my website. It's goldendragonfortunes.com. That's with an S. So, goldendragonfortunes.com. And you can find a lot of information about what we do and how we do it and some of my associates and the events we do, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Testimonials, everything you want to know.
Which we're going to talk about all today.
Yeah.
So you
Yeah.
do in-home, in-person, video chats, emails. Let's get started to find out more about you. I read that you
Mhm.
traveled and lived in how many different countries?
Well, I lived in a couple, two countries in Asia, but I've traveled and been to about 32 countries.
Oh
So,
my goodness. Well, where were you
yeah.
born? Tell us about your upbringing, and I want to find out how you got here.
Okay. Well, yeah, my dad was in the military, and I was actually born in Japan.
Mm.
Um, so my mom was Japanese, and my dad was American, Swedish descent. So I'm kind of half Japanese, half Swedish descent. And that's why I travel around a little bit because my dad was in the military. So I lived in Japan a couple times, two different times, and I lived in Vietnam for about a year, a long time ago.
Wow.
But I grew up mostly in America, in California.
Got
So
it.
yeah.
Ben, you realized at a young age about you were able to appreciate different cultures and different customs and viewpoints, right?
Exactly. I mean, I lived in three different countries by the time I was 8. So a lot of changes, a lot of things, to adapt to and appreciate. But at an early age, I kind of learned to appreciate different cultures, adapt to them. Know that we're all kind of the same, but we just have different histories and backgrounds and cultural, influences. But in fact, when I was really young, I thought if I had a gift I could give all the people in the world was the gift of travel, so they could be exposed to, get out of their bubble and see that, see other cultures and realize that we're all pretty much the same. So
Beautiful. Well, then you
yeah.
also decided to study business, right? Share a little bit about your educational background.
Yeah, well, so I think, I became, because I had a lot of changes in my early youth, adapting to different environments. I didn't really know what I wanted to do when I went to college, but I realized that, everything in America is run on business. I mean, I was more interested in anthropology and, how people developed and civilizations and all that kind of stuff, but I didn't want to spend all my time in school getting a PhD to be, some kind of archaeologist. So I, so I decided I'd go to business because most of the world is run on business. So I'll just I'll study business and figure out what I want to do later. So it's kind of a delay technique. But I ended up doing business and learning, doing marketing and working in business for many years for different types of companies, different type of industries. Kind of in management roles, marketing, that kind of stuff.
All right. Well, thank you so much. And you credit two women in particular who mentored you. Could you share a little bit about this? And want to find out then how you got into this business that we're going to talk about.
Yeah, so yeah, there was two people that influenced me, and they're both women. Aside from family and all those people, when I was in business, I had to learn to become very professional. My goal was to be, professional and work hard, and just kind of have a. I ended up having kind of a, I don't know, bottom line. Keep it logical. You like Spock was my hero. Let's keep it logical. So I was very left brain, in my orientation. But then I met somebody, and she was very intuitive and very, spiritual. She knew a lot about the metaphysical art. We developed a relationship, and so her name was Cindy Ming Star, And so she introduced me to all this metaphysical left brain stuff. And then through her, we kind of learned to, I learned to kind of meditate. And I met another guru master, meditation master of mine from India that, I learned how to meditate and, kind of getting deeper into, quieting the mind and learning those kind of tools. So that combination of, I was still doing business, but I started to kind of exercise and play around with my intuitive capabilities, which I realized had been shut off from I had shut it off from myself just to survive and just to make business deals. So I kind of nurtured that for many many years, and that's how I got into this fortune telling thing, which I just kind of started off with tarot cards and tried lots of different modalities, and then I kind of stumbled on what I do now, and kind of came with me, kind of worked out well for me, so I just kept doing it, and so here I am, doing it as my business.
Amazing. And when did you start the business? And then I want to hear all about it. So
Okay,
Golden Dragon Fortunes. Go ahead.
right, yeah. So, well, it was about 13 or 15 years ago. I was working in business and using this as a hobby. But the company I was working for was trying to, downsize me or eliminate my job. And I was kind of figuring out what am I going to do because I'm getting older. I had a daughter I was taking care of. So I realized that maybe I've been doing this kind of as a hobby, and so maybe I can make it a little of a side gig. So I started kind of telling fortunes on nights and weekends, and it kind of grew. And then about a year or two later, that my company got acquired, and I lost my job, so I had to start doing it full time. And so I've been doing it full time for about a dozen years. Um, so I've been doing this since about 2011. It's full time.
And now this business has grown obviously worldwide. How many people work with you and under you?
Well, I mean, I was kind of just a solopreneur, I guess you would call it. I just started my own little business, and and I've done lots of different people all over the world because when I started up the business, I realized I wanted, because I had traveled around a lot and met different cultures and appreciated them. I wanted to be able to, I didn't want to just sit in one little corner someplace in a city with a neon sign, waiting for some walk-ins. I decided I wanted to kind of do it in a new way and market all over the world and be able to do like we're doing right now, Zoom meetings with people all over the world. And so that was my intention in the beginning. So I didn't, so I put the emphasis on that and promoted that, and it's kind of worked out. People have, because I had a marketing background, I kind of knew how to market the business a little bit. And so, it's worked out. I've kind of done people all over the world. I guess they find me with Google search or Yelp or different places, because I knew how to do search engine optimization a little bit. So I just popped up on people's radar. And so I've been able to do people all over the world in Africa, Europe, Middle East, North America, South America. I mean, I only do it in English, but they have to speak English. Uh, but then, what I got into was I started to do events instead of just doing individual clients. And I've done about, counting the events I do, I've done over 10,000 people.
Oh my
So
goodness.
yeah, and I have at least 900 people that have seen me more than once. And I have some that see me on a regular basis, like, 50 times in the last 10 years. So, but I also wanted to do events because they were kind of fun and it was very popular. And since I was based in San Francisco, there's a lot of tech companies here with young, employees, and they were kind of all raised on Harry Potter, and they kind of all want to have like at their events and the parties they do, they want to have a photo booth, and they want to have a character drawer, and they want to have a fortune teller. So
Wow.
I just kind of tapped into that market and started to do, readings at these, company parties and, holiday parties, whatever kind of events, picnics. And so I started to do a lot of events, and so I've done a lot of top name companies because I'm over here in the Silicon Valley area.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so I've done a lot of those kind of companies and events, and then I've even done during the pandemic we even did events like people would have like maybe girls' night party or have a bridal shower, and we did it through Zoom. We would do it the event through Zoom. So we even did the events during the pandemic through Zoom, and that's how we kind of survived through that. So we've always kind of been geared toward, because I had a little bit of a technology background, using technology, but to do what we do, which is kind of more, spiritual or more fortune telling or more intuitive. So we kind of combine them both to, do what we do now. And as far as I have some former clients of mine, and we kind of, you know, got them to taught them how to do just a five minute reading for like events that we do. For so I have about 3 or 4 people that help me do events because I can't, that way I can kind of clone myself because everybody wants the same, Halloween party on the same night, the Friday and Saturday before Halloween. So
Yeah.
this is the way I could kind of clone myself and do
Well,
more events.
tell me some of the specific services you provide. I was reading the Feng Shui service, but as far as the fortune telling, so we're talking psychic mediums, we're talking, give us some examples if you
Yeah,
don't
so
mind.
so yeah, so there's all kinds of ways to, I mean, I feel like, every culture has, fortune tellers every in different methods through a millennia. There's a lot of different type of intuitive. What we do is kind of do we do kind of fortune telling for the next year. So we look at the next year and see what kind of energy is flowing in the seeker's future, kind of month by month for the next year. So it's kind of a flow of energy, and we do that, in a reading, we do that in general
Oh,
first.
cool.
Well, yeah, and then we let them ask some questions, and we see what's going on with each one of those questions, love, career, health, finances, whatever. And now what we're doing, something new that we're doing now is before we start as an icebreaker, I take a photo of the person,
Oh,
like on Zoom, and so that I'm not staring at them for 10 minutes. And then I read the energy from the photo. So
really?
I pick up their personality and some of the things they may have been through, in general, and to kind of connect and so I pick up who they are. Um,
So do we are you a psychic? Are you an intuitive, a medium? How do I describe you?
well, I call myself an awareness guidance counselor because my goal is, my feeling is that everybody has some psychic abilities. Maybe they just didn't have time to develop them or focus on them because, it's not like it's hard work. You have to kind of, you know, find some tools, find your method, and kind of keep the yada yada out of your mind. Um, and find a way to get a little bit deeper. So I had maybe the good fortune to be able to do that a little bit. So I don't feel I'm necessarily special. I think a lot of people have this capabilities. They just don't tap into it. They're just kind of doing it, working a job that they don't really like, and they're coming home and binge watching on Netflix or whatever. They just don't. They want to be distracted from life and not focus on life, in a deeper level. Um, so I don't feel I'm special. I think a lot of people can do it. Um, and so I call myself an awareness guidance counselor because I want through my readings, I want to hopefully show the energy that's maybe is coming in the future of my clients. And that maybe as they recognize that, because I send them an audio recording that summarizes the whole reading so they can listen to it at any time. They might get some new insights because they don't know what they don't know, and the recording will help them understand what may unfold as life unfolds in front of their eyes. And so my goal is to make them more aware of their own energy and what's in their path, and be able to make the right you know steps on their journey, and not necessarily just have me all the time supporting them because eventually I want them to be able to do it themselves. So
Yeah.
so I want them to become more aware of their own life and their own energy and how they use it and how they react to it, and not just find the answers from a fortune teller that they don't know. So that's kind of my goal. So I call myself an awareness guidance counselor. So however you want to describe that, if it's psychic or intuitive or, I mean, there's, it's got different meanings for different people.
Yeah.
I'm not a
Well,
medium though. I mean, medium to me, medium is kind of like, okay, you're talking to
tapping.
departed people. Yeah,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
yeah. So I don't do that. I mean, I have people ask me about departed family members or people that are close to them. I mean, I have asked people ask about that, and I tell them what the energy is around that person, that spirit, but I don't specialize in it. I don't call myself a medium.
Yeah. Well, there's some great reviews. There's people on the side saying, So everything you said to me came 100% true. Do you have time for a reading for two individuals? Thank you. I had a fortune done a couple of months ago, but it was so accurate. I'm too impatient to wait longer for another one. I like to do it by email again. So you're even doing this by email.
Yeah, I have a client here in San Francisco that I have never met. I've never heard her voice,
Wow.
but I've known her for, I don't know, maybe 6 or 7 or 8 years. I can't remember, but I've done 25 readings for her because I keep records. I keep, I have a little database. So I've done 25 readings for her, and I've never met her. I've never heard her voice. She keeps coming back, and so I must have told her something right. Either that, or she just likes getting these things from me. I don't know. And she has a business, she has, her own business and all this kind of stuff. So I guess I give her some guidance, and give her some. But I've never met her, and I have a lot of clients like that that I only do by email. But of course, I
Got
do
it.
by, since the pandemic, Zoom. Probably 50% of my clients are by Zoom, like this, all over the
Yeah.
world. And then of course I meet people in person, and um, and I do events, and
Yeah.
I go to their homes too. Um, so yeah, I do it different ways, 4 different ways, and they all have different prices, based on the time and the travel and that type of thing.
Got it.
So
Well, also, I mean, so many people are saying such positive things. So how often do people come to you for readings or how often should they?
well, I tell them that, whenever they have a need, they should come to me, So I do like this 6 months to a year reading, and I say, but if you want to, maybe you have a question or two that you want to ask, maybe 3 months from now, since
Mm-hmm.
we already did the 6 to 12 month overview,
Got it.
because I say, well, we can just go to the questions only format,
Yeah.
and then we'll just go right to the question, so it's quicker, it's a little bit cheaper. So I have clients like my number one client right now is in New Jersey, and she works for big pharma, and I helped her through looking for a new job, and then kind of getting ending her marriage, and then kind of selling her house, and then buying a new house, and then getting a new job, and then dating, and so I've known her for about 9 years, and I've done over 50 readings for her. So I've kind of become her kind of like her advisor. So so she kind of calls me up, and says, "Hey, I have these questions," and I was like, "Okay, let's go do it." So it's by appointment only, So I don't do phone readings, and I don't do phone readings on purpose because I didn't want to be, confused with the 1-800, 1-900, you know, that, call a psychic and get charged by the minute. I don't do that. It's all set pricing. So so I don't do that, and yeah, I don't do phone readings because I didn't want to be part of that group. I wanted to be, separate. So it's
Wow.
by appointment. Yeah, so by appointment, but and we take, it takes about an hour to do a reading in, like this and over Zoom. But it depends on the questions, how much
I
we
was going to
talk and
say,
discuss.
so how does it work? People get a set of questions to ask. How many questions are you allowed to ask? What are some of the typical things that you're
Yeah,
looking
yeah.
for?
So the typical reading that I do is we do the next 6 to 12 months, kind of in sequence, month by month. So we do that first. Well, first now what I do is I do take a picture of them and while we're here on Zoom, and then I tell them about what I pick up from them, their energy. And so I do that first and explain, like, yeah, you probably had this happen to you, and probably had that. You're kind of this kind of person, and this is how you see things, like that. Uh, and then we go to the overview and see what kind of energy is kind of floating out there, the next 6 to 12 months in general, kind of month by month. And then um, uh, normally, sorry, I got a little phone call here. We let them ask 3 questions. So these questions, are like broad questions. I mean, they can be broad, they can be specific. So let's say, you want to ask about, most people want to ask about their love life and what their career, and maybe, another question, finances or health or something else, their, mother. So they could be specific too. They could be like, okay, what's going on with this relationship?
Mm-hmm.
What is that person thinking or feeling? How's my love life in general? uh, you know, or they could be, any kind of question they want. So they can be broad, they can be specific, and if they want to ask more questions, they can because it's only $10 each for each question. So, but usually, people think they have a lot of questions, you know, but really they kind of have like major questions. like, is this relationship going to last? Does he really love me? What about this career opportunity? There may be 1,000 questions within that, but since we give, each one of these questions, we do the same thing. We give the next 6 to 12 months and see how it's going to play out. So at the end of the reading, we take a photo of the whole layout and we email it to the client, and then we make an audio summary about 5 or 10 minutes long where we recap the whole reading and all the highlights of the reading, and we email that to them as well, so they don't have to take notes, and they can remember everything we said, and they can listen to it anytime in the future. So at the end they'll have they'll have the photo and they can have the audio, and they can kind of put two and two together and kind of listen to it anytime as they're moving through the 6 to 12 months.
Hmm.
And we do that because a lot of times people don't know what they don't know, right? So they think they're just thinking about today, but a lot could happen in 6 months. And so that's where we send the audio so they can say, oh, wait a minute, oh, this did happen. And that's maybe some of those reviews, say that like, oh, it came true. So, um, yeah,
Wow.
so
Well,
that's how we do it. So that's
all
how we
right.
do reading, through Zoom or in person or email readings. We just say, send us your headshot, and your questions, and payment. And then we just kind of do everything. What we do is we kind of focus on that person and then try to select our tools, and do the same format, but we just send them back the photo and the audio.
Oh my
So
goodness.
yeah.
Wow. All right. Well,
Yeah.
let me ask this. How can we reach out to you? Let's remind everyone of the website, the phone number, social media pages. How do we contact you?
Sure, yeah. So you can find us on the internet with our website at goldendragonfortunes.com. And we're on social media. On Instagram, it's at Golden Dragon Fortunes. On Facebook, it's at Golden Dragon Fortunes. So,
Ah,
kind of
or
if you
just
just
Google.
yeah, if you just type in Golden Dragon Fortunes into Google, you'll find us. And the first 3 pages will be us. We're on different social media sites. We're on TikTok. We're different all over the place. So yeah, you just type in Golden Dragon Fortunes to Google or Yelp or or Instagram. You'll find us. Um, and yeah, and then we do parties and events. So we've done some events where we've actually traveled. So we did something for a tourist board, and they flew us down to San Diego. So we did the meetings there. We did an event down in LA. We did an event in Park City, Utah. So we're open to travel as well if the conditions are right and the right environment. So but we love to do those kind of events too. And then we can do them virtually too. So I've done people in Oklahoma and Florida, like a bridal party. We did it, by Zoom. So, you know, um, so we're kind of open, you know, uh, to whatever people want. Now, what we use in our readings is kind of different. I mean, we at parties and events, we do a lot of different things. Between me and my team, we do tarot cards, which is,
Mm-hmm.
pretty common. But what we mostly do is something unique. It's called mahjong tiles. So mahjong is an ancient Chinese game, Asian game. It became popular in the U.S. about 100 years ago. I think somebody went to China, came back, and kind of Americanized it, and so it's very popular in certain groups in Asia. I mean, in America, particularly like a lot of as a parlor game from the 1900s, and I think a lot of the Jewish community knows mahjong, plays American mahjong, but it's popular in Asia, Japan, Southeast Asia. So it's popular in a lot of places. But we use the tiles as an oracle, as a fortune telling tool. So it's kind of unique. And there's 144 tiles in the Chinese mahjong. So it's kind of similar to tarot cards, where somebody lays out, somebody picks cards, and lays them out in a pattern, and then we interpret them. So it's the same thing.
Wow.
They pick out the tiles, 144 of them. They pick out so many of them. We tell them how many, and then we interpret the tiles. And so there's not a lot of symbology on them. I have some here, just to show you, little
Sure.
miniature ones. So I have them here. So they look like this. So there's not a lot on them. It's not like tarot cards with a lot of symbology and everything. So they look like they're like that. So it's largely intuitive, but each tile
Okay.
has meanings, and where they are has a different meaning, that kind of thing. If you wanted to kind of reference if you saw that movie Crazy Rich Asians, and I had the end of the scene where the mother-in-law was the mother of the guy was playing mahjong with the girl, and she allowed the mother to win or something like that. Those are mahjong tiles. So they're usually bigger, but I use the miniature ones because it's more convenient for me. So that's kind of our tool, and I learned this from a Chinese scholar of Chinese metaphysics about 30 years ago. And so I just kind of, it just kind of appealed to me. So I just kind of ended up keep doing it. And so that's what we do. But we do tarot cards. We also do tea leaf readings, so for events we do, we get the loose leaf teas, and we look at the bottom of we read the tea leaves. I have a client, I have an associate, Cindy Ming Star. She does lipstick print readings.
Okay.
Uh,
Wow.
and then I have another associate. Her name is Mei Li, and she does feng shui. So she'll go into people's homes, or she can do it virtually, through Skype or FaceTime or Zoom, and see their home, and then tell them, and look at their layout and kind of tell them how to maybe. He doesn't do big things like, you got to knock this wall out. He just does, like, hey, this is the people living in there, and this is the energy and the flow of these rooms based on those people and the colors scheme that you might use and make more harmony. So we do that as well. So feng shui, fortune telling, different methods of fortune telling,
Right.
we do, and yeah, we kind of try to enjoy it and have fun as well.
Well, thank you so much. Pleasure having you here. And remind everyone how we can contact you to get started for our reading.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's Golden Dragon Fortunes. You can find us on social media. Just type in Golden Dragon Fortunes in your Google search. You'll find us. Our phone number is 415-539-9447. But we're all over social media. Just type in Golden Dragon Fortunes in your Google browser. We'll show up. Or type in Wanugee, Wanugee. The first 6 pages is going to be me somehow. Stories about me. There's things out there about me and our business. So you'll find us if you just use one of those 2 things: Golden Dragon's Fortune
Perfect.
and Wanugee.
All right. Well, thank you so much for being here, for joining us, and looking forward to the next time we get to connect. Thank you for
Yeah.
enlightening us with the services, and best of luck to you. My goodness, not that you need my luck, but
No, I
Wanugee,
appreciate
it's a
it.
pleasure
Yes.
having you here. Thank you
Yeah.
again.
My pleasure to meet you and be on your podcast. So
Same here. Hopefully
yeah.
we'll connect and we'll do a fortune read next time. I'll give you some questions and you can take a picture.
Yeah. Yeah. So wishing
Thank
you all
you.
good fortunes, Joe.
I hope so. Thank you so much. I
All right.
appreciate that. Enjoy
Take
your
care.
day.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com, or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house.
And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned. This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.